Hello, Shining. Uh, Hello, men. Hello, Mgtows. This is a regular Thursday broadcast, and we'll be talking about a myriad of subjects. And one of the major subjects that we've been flipping back and forth and talking about lately is the inability of some. I'm getting an echo there. Okay. And one of the subjects we've been talking about is the idea of why some Mgtows get it and why some MRAs don't get these things that we say. And it boils down to we don't feed the system that screws us over. And we don't do that in any way whatsoever. And there's a lot of things I do. Once you've gone through it with the legal system, you realize at the end of it that the results would have been the same if you didn't deal with the legal system. If you just stood back and said, "No, I will not placate this ridiculous system that has hijacked my family, this ridiculous system that has pretty much kidnapped my children. Why would I pay the system that kidnapped my children to see my children?" That's the question that we ask. It's terrorism. You don't pay a terrorist. You don't argue with a terrorist. And we consider them terrorists. If someone comes in your house and kidnaps your children and sends you a ransom note, do you pay the ransom? Of course not, because you're paying the system that kidnapped your children. And they will simply go and do it to somebody else. And that's the problem we have with the legal system here. With the lawyers, with the judges, they're all a part of the same system. If you walk into a court system and you walk in without a lawyer, the judge is going to say, "Why didn't you pay a lawyer?" And you're going to say, "Because I don't believe in the crimes that you're charging me with. I believe those crimes are no charge." In our Constitution and many constitutions around this world that we live in, the only way to fight a corrupt system is to say that the laws that they provide that are corrupt, just ignore them and say, "Go away," or we will take this to another level if you want. In the United States, that would be the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. But we get a lot of MRAs that say you have to pay a lawyer, and you have to pay a lawyer $100,000, $150,000 to have the simple right to see your children. And they're just taxing you. They're just stealing from the child when they do that. It's not about the child with them. It's about how much money they can tax out of the system. And I'll often say it's a very complex idea of modernity that leads to traditionalism. When you buy into that system, you're buying into traditionalism. And not all men have 70, 80, 90, $100,000 to spend on that system to get the same kind of justice so you can see your children. What they're saying is, if you are poor, then you won't get the same kind of justice. And that's always been the question. As far as the legal system's been around, do poor people deserve the same justice? But obviously in this system, poor people don't get the same justice, which makes the justice system in itself corrupt. So with that, I have Shining in the room today. Hello, Shining. How are you today?
Greetings, brethren. Greetings, brethren in Mgtow, brethren in the manosphere, brethren. Yes, it's nice to be here. Nice to be here.
Yeah, going Galt means so much more to us, Mgtows, than it means. I don't think the MRAs get the idea of going Galt and why we go Galt.
It's a big issue, a big subject. So many facets, so many aspects to it. It boils down to this. It's about men that can see the matrix and men that can't. There's no game that's more rigged for men than the child custody issue. That's the biggest. That's the crux. That's the boiling point. That's the crucible of the misandry the center point of all uh, uh, gynocentrism, of all anti-male. It's right in the women's court, as I call it, or the matrix. They call it the family court. Well, we all know it's got nothing to do. In fact, I think Universal aptly called it the family destruction court, because that's where all families go to get destroyed, and that's exactly what they do. And if you're not awake to it, you're going to be feeding into, like you say, you're going to be feeding into the system, and that's what you'll be doing. You'll be hiring out a lawyer, or in the UK call them solicitors, and you'll be paying thousands and thousands of pounds and dollars, and you're going to be basically getting the same outcome as if you hadn't, basically. And that's just it. I mean, the game's rigged against you, whether you have a solicitor or lawyer or not. It's going to be the same outcome. I mean, Messenger's a good example. He got rid of his solicitor, and he got, the same outcome, probably even better. Saved himself a lot of money, and he got the same outcome anyway.
Right. You save a lot of money by not dealing. Once you say, I'm not going to deal with that system. And I had I woke up to this a lot of years ago, where I had a car accident, and I was still young, and I was, and it was a DWI charge, and I realized at that time that that what they wanted was to tap the money out of me for that, and I was innocent on the charge. It was just like it was just some weird. I hit a telephone pole, and I had a bottle of whiskey underneath the seat, which got shattered, and then they charged me with the DWI on it, and I said, no, here's what happened. Here's what, and they said, and they said, well, you're going to need to get a lawyer. And I thought, man, a lawyer is going to cost me like $5,000. So what I did is I said, no, I'm not going to buy into your corrupt system. And I said, I'll sit here for 10 days. After 10 days, you know what they did? They released me, because they realized they weren't going to get no money out of me.
And this is it, guys. We're trying to assist you guys in getting the best outcome in the worst situations you're going to find yourselves in. And basically, I think this is where Mgtow excels, where other areas won't. I mean, some of the things we might suggest might seem a bit maverick, they might seem a bit eccentric, but in the end, they're going to be the best advice you're going to find. You're not going to find this.
Getting the best outcomes is it. Sometimes, as a man, and I think Heartburn says this, and I think even TFM says this, sometimes as a man, you have to be willing to go to the next level and fight. And if it's not worth dying for, it's not worth anything at all. You have to take it to the next level. And once they realize you're willing to fight, they don't want to do that fight. They're a bunch of pussies, aren't they?
Well, that's it. But just to tweak what you said there, Heartburn says, nothing is yours unless you're willing to die for it. Unfortunately, we've got to that point. I mean, sadly, men have to fight tooth and nail for the smallest right, because the government are just not going to. You're so obsolete. You're so expendable.
It's disposability. It's male disposability. They see you as a dime. They see you as a product. They're just you're an ATM to them. And no, we're not. We're real human beings. And
you're the bottom feeder according to government and women. You're right. You're right there with the slugs and the vermin. I mean, you're just gonna have to fight and die. Be ready to fight and die for every little right that you want to keep, basically. And that's it. I mean, man. I mean, if they can throw you in prison for not paying your taxes, I mean, think about it. Your freedom is worth less to the government than $100 a bill for $100 or $200, which is basically how much it starts. A bill always starts at $100, and then they add up with all the court fees and all the summons and stuff and the bailiff fees. But that's it. You're going to have to fight for it. I mean, and obviously we're here to try and assist you in the best way to fight it. Obviously, violence being the last resort, but
right.
Yes, it's come to that, guys. It's come to that.
Yeah, the best way to do it is to Mgtow and walk away from them and say, no, no, I will not involve myself in your corrupt shenanigans. And
Mm.
then they don't get no money out of it. As soon as they realize they're not going to get no money from you, they're not going to waste their time and spend court time on you.
Yeah, as soon as they realize that you're not playing the game, they're just gonna drop you.
They're
As
going to,
soon as they realize that you're cottoned on, they're not gonna play with you, so to speak, because it is all a
yeah,
game.
yeah. You should have seen the judge's face when I says no. When I said no, I'm not playing this. I think this is corrupt, and I'm not doing this with you. And there was no answer. He had no answer because his whole system was about that traditional recidivism system that they plan recidivism for you. They plan you coming back. They plan you give them that 300, that 400, that $500.
Mm. And I think where you're frustrated, Joe, is that a lot of guys they haven't realised is they still either out of ignorance or out of intimidation or just out of sheer disbelief or just out of being sheeple,
Yeah,
they still
sheeple.
haven't realised that there's another way, you know.
Right. Yeah. These MRAs they tell me go give go give the lawyer $100,000 so you can get and I'm saying you're just paying the fucking same system. You're just letting the terrorists bribe you to get access to your children. You should have access to your children naturally. The right of a father is to have natural access 50-50 custody and have that kid 50% of the time because if they're going to say that this is your kid, then what they're saying that isn't your kid, and I'll agree with them. I can't have a baby. There's no way biologically I can have a baby. It's 100% responsibility and accountability on the female at that point. So don't come talk to me.
It's the perfect example where law has overstepped righteousness. I mean, when now the law is completely 100% wrong. I mean, a man has every right to have custody of his child. Of course he does. Especially, I mean, we're shown all the time, aren't we? I mean, mothers
Right.
completely. I mean, that mother that threw her two children over the balcony because she got, and then
Yeah.
that woman that started stamping on that little 3-year-old girl, and
Yeah.
we
Because
see. I mean, a man is. I mean, in the olden days, if a man had children, if a man had a wife or had the mother of his child, no court of law, no jurisdiction, no legal jurisdiction had any right over those things. And if they came and impeached on it, the man had every right to shoot them, to kill them,
yeah,
to kill that officer, and that man would be in the right. But now, of course, things have changed, and now it's the opposite. Now the man has no rights.
Devon has no rights. Yeah. I often look at the example of John Locker. Do you know who John Locker is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'll explain. We've all read the book Uncle Tom's Cabin. Uncle Tom's Cabin was about slavery and buying into your own slavery. That's what it was about. The main character bought into his own slavery, and John Locker was he was the U.S. Marshal that came to uh, that came to try to put him back into slavery, and they ended up shooting John Locker. And but John Locker was the slave recovery agent, and he deserved to be shot.
Mm.
Uh, So when these people come and they try to impose these corrupt laws on you, we have to take this to the next level. Now, I'm not saying shoot these people. What I'm saying is simply remove the monetary incentive for them to leave,
Mm.
because that's what they have. They have a monetary incentive to stay around in your life and to keep fucking with you. No, as soon as you remove that monetary incentive, what you've done is you've shot John Locker. You shot the man that wants to put you in back into slavery. And
Yeah, exactly. Especially in the MRA in Mgtow, we've got all sympathy for that man that defended his rights. You know, he defended his rights, and he was
yeah,
right to do that. And when we talk about the Matrix, this is exactly what we mean. I mean, if you can unplug yourself from the matrix, that's the ideal situation. But when you're so in delved into the matrix that you have to fight your way out, yeah, I mean, we're behind you 100% of the way. The system, the matrix won't be obviously the if you get caught, you're going to be put in prison and all that type of bullshit. But that's the situation we're trying to deal with. This is the severity of the things we discuss.
Yeah, yeah, that's the severity of the things discussed. Yeah, in every constitutional law, England, American, Canada, and everything, they're all going to tell you the same thing at a certain point. When the law is unjust, we have to fight against it.
Mm.
And that's it. And that's it. That's your duty as a citizen. And that's what we're doing. We're more on the right side of things because we're taking the right view. We're not letting corruption overrun our system. We're saying no. We're being men about that. At a certain point, we have to stand up and be men about this. And
it's gone too far. The fact is, it's not. I mean, it's gone into every aspect of a man's life. I mean, it's not just his taxes anymore. It's not just his, his house. But it's now his children, it's now his sovereignty,
children.
it's now his sanity, guys. When you don't have these things, there's not really much left to you. It's no wonder guys are committing suicide on record, or drinking themselves to an early grave.
It's come down to the point where they're saying, if you want to see your children, you'll give a lawyer money. You want to test this? Go up to a lawyer and say, I'm going to punch you in the face. You know what he's going to say to you? He's going to say, you're going to punch a court officer. And that should be very telltale to you that he's working for the same system that's taking your money. He's working for that corrupt system you're fighting against. Don't never give a lawyer money because he's a corrupt bastard. He's working for that same system.
If you guys are ever in that position, listen to us now. If the police come to your house and the child is in your custody, the best thing when you and your ex are splitting up is have the child where you are. That's the best thing. And then when the police come, they'll try to coerce you. They'll lie. They'll say anything. Don't let the police in. Don't play their game. Just speak to them from the window, and unless they've got a warrant, there's nothing they can do. And then when they and then the best thing to do is to get a warrant first. Obviously start the proceedings first, but yeah, if you do go into proceedings, normally what happens 90% of the time is the men, they get court orders to have their children removed. Study the law, learn the procedures. You can do a much better job of securing visitation or contact with your children than a solicitor or a lawyer, because then they won't be as invested in the case as you will be.
Right.
So that's my suggestion.
Yeah, the best thing to do is there are laws that say you have to show up for court on that date, and if you violate that law, you can go to jail. That's how they will put you in jail. The best thing to do is show up for the court without a lawyer, and when you turn your back, I've seen this before with men, they just turn their back on the judge and say, no, I'm here. You can't put me in jail for not showing up for the court date, but I don't believe in your system. And I don't believe you have the right to kidnap my children. And what you're saying is that I will be that aggressor. I will be that man that says, no, I am that strong male. I'm that Mgtow.
I mean, men have been emasculated. It's a very
right. That's why we believe in the masculine male. Ron Harper says he gets very upset when he sees an emasculated male, because he knows the procedures of an emasculated male will be to cower. No. You have to be a man sometimes.
It's a situation we've arrived at. I mean, this is the era. Men. We were just never prepared for this. Nobody taught us. I mean, if at school they taught the little boys how to refute a child custody order for their own child, or how to represent yourself in the court of law, that would have been 1,000 times more valuable,
more useful. Yeah. They teach boys how to acquiesce now, how to curtsy. And
Yeah. How to,
I had a teacher that actually said that to me. I remember this in the sixth grade, and she got very snarky with me one day. We were doing etiquette, and you know how you do the little etiquette classes on how to approach people, how to do that. And she says, everybody curtsy, and then the boy said, no, boys don't curtsy, and the teacher says, oh yes, you will.
mm.
And she was very right. Most of those boys will curtsy. They will acquiesce like a girl.
We've been conditioned to obey the law, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's for our own good or not. I mean, the law today, secularist law, is the new religion. I mean, we are supposed to bow and have complete servitude to the government. I
Yeah,
think they call it statism. They've invented a new word for it,
yeah, statism.
statism.
It's civil religion. They want you to bow to them like they're some high god, some priestess or something.
Yeah, they want you to submit to the law, submit to authority, whether it's right or wrong. You just do what you're told, and
Yeah,
that's a disturbing thing because
that's a
obviously a lot of men they end up in terrible situations.
yeah. The more you do that, the worse situation. The more they will do it to you. Uh, it's with any tournament with a man. If you bow to your aggressor is going to slap you in the face and kick you around. He's going to treat you like a bitch. No, you stand up. Every young man knows this. If you got a bully in school, you stand up at some point and you punch him in his fucking nose.
That's right.
Because that's the only way to make it stop. And MGTOW is punching the legal system in the nose by taking their funds, by not giving them those funds. We have to do this. We have to do this in every single way. We give 1,000 different ways on this podcast. Uh, how do you do it? When you take money from you make your own bread, you make your own coffee, you take those little tax dollars out of the system. There's a
Mm.
million different ways to do this, isn't there?
And this is what we mean by escaping the matrix, because the system is set up and it's gone into every little intricate aspect of a man's life. That the more you learn about it, the more you can withdraw your contribution towards the matrix. And like you said, it can be the little things like making your own fuel. You know, instead
Yeah,
of you buying diesel, you can recycle cooking oil, which is
right.
a great way. Or you can, like you say, steal your music and your
Yeah,
videos and films and movies, steal them all. You know, there's so many ways. You know, we're learning all the time little tricks. You know, instead of buying a new car, you can just fix up your old ones, and Warhorse can teach you that.
right. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can think about it. It's from the minute you walk out. I always give the analogy from the minute you wake up in the morning, you have to be MGTOW. To the minute you go to sleep, you have to think going ghost. Uh, if you can do something for yourself, or sell a product, or not pay taxes on something, it's your responsibility as a MGTOW to do that.
And when we start doing that en masse, you know, the
Yes.
government, they're going to have a real problem with that. They're going to have to
Yeah.
take notice. They're going to have to start changing things. You know, because they're going to realize they need us. I mean, at the moment, I think they generally believe that men are just useless. You know, men are just going to follow along. They're just going to do whatever they're told. And I think the government really believe that men are not going to be clever enough to walk
Yeah.
away from the system en masse.
Yeah, that's what they think. I think a lot of guys around here get it, but I don't think a lot of guys really get MGTOW. They don't get that going ghost part of it. They'll say, what the answer was. I had a small argument earlier yesterday about someone told, well, just pay the lawyer. And I said, no, you don't pay the lawyer. You don't pay into that system. He didn't understand it. Uh, he was very adamant about that. Going ghost means, it's the thing that put MGTOW together.
Mm.
It's that last element we needed back in the day that made MGTOW full and made the ideal uh, truly conceptual.
Mm.
And when you go ghost, you have to. This is your responsibility as a MGTOW in every single way of your life.
I think people have a problem with it because they don't see just how. I mean, when we've got to the point where the government are responsible for almost all our problems, basically, and we've got to the
Yeah,
point where the government don't know the difference between right and wrong, and people are following orders against their own conscience. I think we have got to this stage now where men basically have to they have to be the conscience of the government. We have to. I mean, obviously, it's going to be some teething problems. Obviously, the first martyrs are going to be the
yeah,
guys that get put in prison, or the guys that get their children taken off them. Or I mean, it's going to happen anyway. I mean, who are you kidding? I mean, if the government can do it, they're going to do it to you regardless. But the fact is,
right, yeah,
eventually, when there's enough, I mean, I don't know who came up with the term, but when the critical mass comes, which I personally don't think there's any such thing. I think for each man that does it, that's one step closer to
right,
regaining male sovereignty. I think for each man that puts his foot down, for each step, for each finger that you lift, it makes a difference.
right, yeah.
I say never
Oh,
look down on your own deeds.
yeah, I would be honored to be that first martyr, that guy that says no for the public to look up and say, no, this guy's saying no to it. That would be an honor to me to do that for Mgtow. But I get this creepy impression that if I went into this battle with the legal system and I did this, I would get no support from Mgtow.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we're still discussing this. I mean, how ways that MGTOW can help each other. You know, we're still trying to get. You know, men are on different levels. Men are on all different strengths. People are, going ghost or gold on many different ways and levels. It's all we're still on quite a big learning curve. But like I
Yeah,
said, for each man that takes that step away from the matrix, for each man that withdraws is a finger, a foot, or any type of investment away from the matrix, I think is a victory, no matter how minor.
yeah, yeah. That's we all got to do it on a small little level, and that little level, once you get comfortable with doing it's baby steps, once you get comfortable with doing it a little with just start with making your own bagels at home,
Mm.
uh and then you think about the system, how your influence is in the system. You're not paying taxes if you make your own bagel. You're not spending $1.35 on something you can make for 25 cents. You're not 92% of the bakers out there are females. So you're not buying into the system. You're not giving them money so they can, and you're not reciprocating that bad will. Uh, and once you learn, it's not just about making your own bagels or making your own coffee or roasting your own coffee. It's bigger than that.
Mm.
It goes far beyond when I make my own coffee, it's about free trade coffee. It's about the things I disagree with in that system. Uh, it's about not paying taxes. It's about taking that money out of us, out of a corrupt system. And it's only you look at this. It's every time I do that, I take 25 cents from Uncle Sam, but that builds up. It's a one drop becomes a bucket, and that bucket, if each one and every one of these guys do it, becomes a little stream, and that stream becomes a river, and then it becomes an ocean of Mgtow, and then that's when they feel us. That's when they'll get fearful.
That's right. That's right, guys. Never look down upon your own actions. Every tiny step, every baby step is one step closer to your goal.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a simple idea. It's very simple in Mgtow. It's go Galt. But if you think going Galt is, a lot of these guys take that real far. They'll go, I'm walking off into the woods and I'm going to stand here next to this tree. We'd give that humorous statement all the time on the monks. No, don't walk off in the woods and stand against a tree and make no impact. If a tree falls in the woods, no one's going to hear it. Uh, uh, do it in your community, and you don't have to involve yourself. Going ghost within your community is the best thing you can do, because you have to be in a community. You're not walking off into the woods and just standing there.
Mm, that's right.
Hmm. And I know that's a complex idea for most of these MRAs. They just want to keep buying into the reciprocal system of modernity that holds them down, and then they can't see how they're doing that. And it's traditionalism. Traditionalism is modernity. It's
Mm. It's becoming tradition now. Obviously, what we do today will become tradition if it continues.
right, right. Yeah, we want our tradition of saying no to become, the quantified idea of
We want a Mgtow tradition. That's what we
yeah,
want.
we want a MGTOW tradition, and then, yeah, tradition comes in a lot of different ways. If you understand tradition, we want the male tradition back, and that would say, well, yeah, a slight patriarchy, but the male tradition is no, these are my children, and you have no right coming here trying to kidnap them, and if you do, I'm going to kill you,
Mm. And you have every right to. I mean,
and you have every right to.
because the thing is, when those kids go, that guy's gonna. I mean, if they take those kids, there's nothing more demeaning to a man than than not being able to save his own children. And I think if there's something worth dying for, then surely it's your children, isn't it?
Right, yeah, it's the ultimate act of violence against males, isn't it? To
That's
take
right.
their children and then make them pay to see them. That's such a demeaning. When we talked about the McDonald's dads once in a while, you go into the McDonald's at the Burger King or that place, in the city where all the single dads have their children on Saturday.
Mm.
It's so depressing. It's dripping with depression. Those men have been defeated, and
It's no wonder men commit suicide.
yeah. Yeah, after that, you go give your children back and you say, thanks, it costed me $3,000 to see my children. Here's your blood money, you fucking lawyer.
Yeah, and to see your own children grow up in that state as well, because you see them, being poisoned by their mother, having problems that had they been under your custody that you'd be able to deal with, not being able to protect them 99% of the time. It's a very
Right,
harmful situation.
right. Yeah, yeah. And, I'm not a man without huge horror stories about, they took my children and then they kidnapped my children, and then my children were subsequently kidnapped by a random male my wife had brought in the house. He spent 5 years in prison for that. He did horrible things to my children. I say the root of that evil was that judge giving my children to this corrupt person, which let this happen. I wasn't there to protect them
Yeah, they've
like I
all got.
should have been. I hold that judge 100% responsible, and if I ever get a chance to put a bullet in that man's head, I will.
And who can blame you, brother? I mean, who can blame you? Like I said, I mean, if it's one thing worth dying for, and worth killing for, surely it's your children. I mean,
It's your children, right?
after
Yeah,
someone's taken your children, I mean, what else? I mean, what else are you going to fight and die for?
yeah.
That's the thing.
That's the only thing worth fighting and dying for in this. We got to get the system out of our bedrooms. Trudeau was right about that when he gave that famous quote. The government needs to get the hell out of the people's bedrooms. And that means shutting down these divorce court system, this divorce court industry, shutting down those family courts, shutting down those health and human services that attach to it. Get rid of the lawyers. You have to get rid of these lawyers, and that's where it starts. And not pay them. Paying them is the opposite. You're planning your own obsolescence then.
Mm.
You're planning your own. When you pay a lawyer to do that, you're planning your own disposability.
Mm.
Whew, man, I know that's it's a concept that a lot of men don't understand, and it starts with going galt.
Yeah, one by one, men are waking up. One by one. I mean, even if you're the cipher and you want to stay in the matrix, yeah, you're going to get chewed up. I mean, it's not a good deal at all. Being
No,
cipher is not a good deal for any man whatsoever.
right? Yeah, yeah. What happened to Cipher at the end of that? I think he
I don't
was.
know.
Yeah, I think Smith took him over. Yeah, that was so appropriate that Agent Smith took over his body.
Well, it reminds me of the Simps and the Manginas. I mean, how long can they pretend that their life is good? I mean, saying, "Well, I'll sacrifice it all just so I can get some female validation, just so I can get some, just so I can get some sex from a woman." And then,
Yeah,
how long does that last? You know, when they start to get older, and all of a sudden they see that all their years spent was in servitude.
yeah. You see these guys. They've run through three women, three marriages, lost three houses, lost it all three times, and are still trying to get that vag that got them in trouble to begin with. And it's like, man, that's the programming that's so hard to uh, to undo. Those guys are simply in the matrix, and well, I was gonna say that these guys are simply in the matrix. There's no way to pull them out, but we're just gonna pull out who we can, and we'll fight with that army.
Yeah, I still think at some point, even the hardest mangina or the most vehement simp, he's gonna, his sex drive is gonna die down, and all of a sudden he's gonna wake up one day thinking, "Oh wow, I wish I'd done it all differently." I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Look at that. The recent sane, not sane madman. The other guy, I often screw up his name. Straight shooter.
yeah,
He took a look at that Dennis Prager of PragerU,
yeah,
and
Praga, you,
yeah, well, nobody in Mgtow was looking at that guy for what he is. That guy's a super simp.
yeah,
That guy
yeah.
is the super simp of all. That guy's been divorced three times.
I know. I mean, I just, I mean, I think where where we're not defining the matrix very well is that people that they can partially be in the matrix, and I think most men are partially in the matrix,
Right.
and they don't see it. They just don't see it until it's pointed out to them, or that part of them that's still involved in government or still under government slavery is
Yeah.
bitten off. I mean, yeah, I mean that guy. I
Yeah.
mean, why is he taken as a? I just don't understand some guys. Why is he taken as like some authority on men's issues? I mean,
Yeah. That guy is he's everything we talk about. He's the simp. He's the guy that's paying the system to take everything from him. I'll bet that guy spent over $1 million in those and I looked at his wealth. He's worth $5 million, and he can afford to do that. Most guys around here, we can't afford to do that thing
mm,
to see our children, but he can afford that. There's a certain affordability that goes back to the poor will suffer and the rich will be able to buy a legal counsel. Uh,
well, that's
eh,
it. I mean, I mean, if that wasn't the case, they would change the law. I mean, because we talk about these guys that are basically above the law. They're so rich that the law doesn't matter to them. They
oh,
are above the law.
yeah, that's what our system has become. We got a system of rich people, and the lawyers drool over these people because they know that's where their money's going to come in. They'll say, hey, give me $100,000 and I'll get you the rights to 50-50 custody.
Mm,
And that's all it becomes is a contract with a lawyer to buy the law. And that's why, when you look at that, that's why Christianity was kicked out of England. That's why Christianity did really bad, and because they were selling what do you call that? They were selling uh, in the same legal vein. They were selling the right to do a crime.
I mean, it's the same in almost every country. It's like the people that have the money make the laws. So obviously they're going to make it in a way where they're going to be excluded from the harm of it.
Yeah,
They're going to avoid the pitfalls and the
yeah. Oh, we got to make it so there are pitfalls. That's why first rule of Fight Club, we don't talk about Fight Club. But when you're out there and you're in the real world and you're going galt and you run into one of these guys, make his life a living hell.
yeah.
If you can make his life a living hell, that's the first rule of a Fight Club. Roll that ball, destroy a piece of art, That's the first rule of Fight Club. That's why we take that attitude too. That's a very good, hey, we're going to do this outside of their system. We're not going to pay into their system, but don't ever think we're not the guy spitting in your soup, because we are everywhere and we are angry.
Mm.
Yeah. So what's interesting in Mgtow today, huh? These
Um, I um, I watched the Heartburn's last video.
yeah, Harper had it was interesting. I got about a quarter of the way into it. I just can't do those hour videos. I have no time for them unless you're sitting around doing housework and you're just listening to it. That's what I have to go back and just turn it on someday and kind of listen through it. So what was he was
Just to pick up on, I think the word you was looking for was papal indulgences, when the Pope can
yeah.
give you a certificate and all your sins are forgiven.
Yeah, it's people indulgence, isn't it? When you pay a lawyer to have the right that you should have had anyways, it's just a papal indulgence
Yeah,
of being rich, and they go, "Oh, you're forgiven of all your sins." That, by the way, we made up those sins.
yeah.
They were
Which
real sins.
which really, by the first definition of Christianity, what was you're supposed to pray for forgiveness and get forgiven rather than giving the Pope money, which is why what they call now the Protestants, they protested against this. They said, no,
Right.
this is just the Pope making money, and that's why they split away, because
Yeah.
one of the papal indulgences.
Yeah, yeah, we don't pay into papal indulgences. We don't do that thing. But lawyers now have become such a religion, and they became a religion when they started getting into our bedrooms and started making up. In my last video, I said, "Hey, they're selling you mating rights," you know. And
Mm.
that's what you say that out loud, and you go, "Hey, they're selling you your rights to mate." And they're regulating your right to mate society, and that's just an indulgence that it's just you have the every right to as a human to mate any way you want to mate.
Yeah, it's all messed up. The government is gone beyond Big Brother. It's gone beyond the matriarchy. It's now turned itself into a deity. The government is
Yeah,
now the idol which all citizens and civilians must worship towards.
right, they're a civil religion.
That's
uh,
right.
it's just become a civil religion where they are the gods, and they've made themselves the that
The be all and
hope
end
that's
all.
yeah,
Yeah,
the end all. They're saying, here's your sin, pay me,
yeah.
and I'll forgive you for that sin. And
And
there was never really a sin to begin with.
yeah, and whatever I say is right, and whatever you say is wrong, and I can change my I can change that anytime I wish. Unfortunately, that's exactly how it is.
Yeah, yeah. We have in France they had a night of long swords about that. We have to have our night of long swords where we'd say no, no more,
Mm.
no more of this. This is it always comes from the same people, those legal egos, those legalistic, litigious people. Uh,
It's a very dark era. I mean, if you think about it, really, yeah. I mean, we're not like in a blight pit of like disease, people starving, and everyone's falling sick and dying at 35. But that aside, I mean, we're in a very dark era where we men feel like they're worthless. It's like people don't have value anymore. I mean, what's the value of a person? I mean, we normally value something according to its use, but now I
yeah,
think, because I don't know, when you look below the surface, it is quite a dark time. It's a very dark
right.
time
It's
for
quite a
men.
dark time. Yeah, I like that phrase. What is the value of a man? Uh, when when that monk died, I put that monk up, that 71-year-old monk uh, that was killed in out of Dakar, and
Mm.
we atone to the monk's code here. and it was very sad that they killed this monk. You know why it was very sad that they killed that monk? Because some men are worth more than other men, and that monk was worth 10 regular blue pill men. You know,
Mm.
and when they killed him, it was like they killed 100 men.
I don't know how are men going to rise up from this. It's a long way to go, but we're getting there step by step.
Yeah, we are.
One
Yeah.
by one.
Should we give a shout out to the regulars
Yeah,
right now?
go ahead. Who's on?
Yeah, let me use this button, this useless button that I have that never works. Oh, it didn't work again. Yeah, the regular guys: Badass Dan, Leonard McCoy, Invisible Summer, uh, and Invincible Summer. Yeah, there's only three.
Zeta X is in there. He's keeping his head
Yeah,
down
Zeta
lately. I
X.
think he's trying to avoid all the tribulations.
Yeah, all the tribulations in Mgtow.
Yeah, it does go around. You're gonna expect it, guys, on the world arena of internet or YouTube. You've got to expect some
Yeah, yeah. It goes back to
some
that
flack.
bar video when he said, "Hey, what did he call those guys? The gotcha guys. You can have the gotcha guys around all the time. If you let those gotcha guys wear on you, uh, you're just internalizing something that's going to hurt you. Yeah, walk away from them too.
Mm.
Uh, just screw it. They're going to do what they're going to do, and there's always going to be gotcha guys out there.
Well, going back to Heartburn's last video, obviously, come on, the title was very controversial.
The title was, yeah, that's what kind of, the title put me off a little bit.
He's going to put a lot of people off. I listened to all of it anyway. He's not actually saying make America all pale pigmentation people again. What he's doing, he's connecting the term a white with masculine, successful strength. That's what he's trying to say. He's not saying make America white skinned. He's saying white as in successful, and I think that itself is also controversial. I mean, hopefully he'll come on and we can discuss it more. But yeah, he's not. I don't think he's racist. I think he's just. I think he's just baiting. Actually, just baiting people to listen.
He's just baiting you. What he's really saying is, he knows his crowd. He knows his demographics and those white guys. And what he's saying is, hey, white guys, get some balls.
He's not only talking to white. He's talking to everybody. You know, the black, the Asians.
Yeah.
The
In that sense, you can relate and say, hey, yeah, we all us men, we got to start getting some balls in this thing.
Yeah.
And,
he's saying, yeah, all blacks, white, Asians, you should all be white. That's what he's saying. White as in a strong, successful, masculine. That's what he's saying. But I don't know. Maybe he'll come in and we'll discuss it a bit more.
Yeah, maybe he'll come in. And it's good for, white men should be strong and successful. That's the same thing we're saying for everybody.
Yeah.
Is all men should be strong, successful, and masculine.
That's what we're saying. I mean, that's the centerpiece of Mgtow. But I think I would say, hopefully he won't take offenses. I would say it was in quite bad taste because the way he's put it, obviously it's going to be quite insensitive, to guys that are really suffering under some heavy prejudice, and they're not going to appreciate that at all. I'm
right. Yeah,
expecting some serious downvoting on that video.
Yeah, we do have in-group bias too that goes on. You know your group. You know who your group is, and I try to keep my group very diverse, and it's very hard. It's a job that often perplexes me, and we've had conversations in the past about how much it perplexes me that I'm under this huge pressure to keep my group very diverse in nature, and I try to do that job the best I can.
Well, whenever a way of life, whenever a philosophy and an ideology or a concept has come along and it's focused on a very singular demographic of men, it's always failed. It's always failed without exception. I mean, one great example I think of is the Nazis. I mean, they were focused on a very specific demographic of men. And
Yeah, yeah. Well, they were kind of anti-diverse.
yeah, they were
They were
anti-diverse,
bad.
exactly. They were very
Uh,
specific in who they wanted to save or who they wanted to uplift or to improve. And
yeah.
whenever that's been the case, it's always failed. It's just not going to
Okay,
work.
but let's look at this. If an Ibmore man was to say, "Hey, come on, black brothers, let's step up and be more masculine. Let's step up, fight the system. Let's step up," would it be wrong of them?
It wouldn't be wrong, but when you say, okay, we're not going to accept any white guys, no Asian guys, we're just going to accept
Yeah,
black skin guys, and a certain, I mean, that's what some of them are talking about now, a certain black, not like too
yeah.
dark, not too pale, but a certain
Yeah.
black.
Now, when you look at the the opposite spectrum of that, when a white guy says, "Hey, white guys, let's we have to say," it all often comes off as bias and bigotry, doesn't it?
It's the same thing
For
because
saying the same
because
thing.
then what about the Yugoslavians? What about the Greeks? They're not included in. I mean, they're just as white skinned as that. What about the Jews?
Yeah,
I mean, they're just as white
yeah,
skinned, but they're not included in this KKK type of come on white power stuff. But I say that because the problems they have when they try to involve all men, it's the same problems they have when they try and just include their own demographic. That it doesn't fix anything. Yeah, you get a short term sense of pride, a short term sense of
yeah,
belonging, but
yeah. And what
that
we should be
disappears.
doing, and that's where Mgtow comes in. It's really important to keep your Mgtow values. It's not about the color of our skin because we're all men. And that's where it boils down to, it is we are all men and we all have that same characteristic. So when we approach these things, we approach them in a very diverse way because we know it's not about race, we know it's not about color, we know it's about creed. It's about being a man,
Mm.
and that's the only criteria you need to be a MGTOW, is you need to be a man.
He needs to be a masculine man.
A masculine man. Yeah, well, Heartburn pushes that one too a lot, doesn't he? It's like, man, if you're one of these effeminate men that want to be a woman, you're not a MGTOW.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
Mgtow's all about becoming a man. Obviously, if you want to become a woman, that sort of defeats the point. If you want to be
yeah,
a
yeah,
feminine, it's not.
yeah,
Surely it's logic, isn't it? Isn't it reasonable to presume? Well, you're not really relevant to what we're talking about if you want to be a woman.
yeah. If you want to be a woman, yeah, all men have a certain disdain for women. All men do. I don't care who it is. You ever go? Let me give an example of this. You ever been at a wedding or a meeting hall where the men split away from their mates or their women, and they go over in a corner and they talk? What are they talking about?
Yeah.
They're talking about how stupid their wife was. They're talking about something stupid they did or how much they hate what she did. But as soon as a female enters that group, they'll be like, "Oh, hey, honey, how you doing? Hey, baby, you're the best." So as long as those men are the same men, those same blue pill traditional men, then that's why they say that, when we can digress back to that, in the Matrix, these men can't, they all see it a little bit, because in that situation, all of you guys have seen it, in any situation, in any meeting where men have split away from their wives, the first thing they talk about is something stupid she did that day.
Yeah. Well, we've gone far away from the time when men used to discuss things, when men used to get together in poker rooms,
Yeah,
in pool halls, in smoking rooms, and they used to discuss matters and climb the ladders of social standing.
climb the ladders of social standing. Yeah, that's why it's so important for these spaces for men, and where we just talk, and we have these these little places where we go and be men and do men stuff, because we get things done in those spaces, and that's what we're missing.
Well, hopefully, me and Heartburn will have a little heart to heart there. You see
Hot
what
to
a
hot,
little heart
man.
to heart. Yeah, and hopefully we'll have a one on one and we'll discuss this more. But yeah, I wouldn't have used the terminology that
Yeah,
he used. I think that was quite
yeah,
insensitive, and a lot of people aren't going to understand it the way I just described it. People aren't going to understand it. Even though he spelled it out, even though in his video he spelled it out, but people are still going to look at the word "make America white again," and they're just going to take offense. Bernie, I'm afraid.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was. I got a little. That's why I didn't watch a lot of it because I didn't want to go down that in my mind. When I seen that title, when you name your title, you should either keep it real ambiguous or keep it real Mgtow. And
you have to keep it general because the fact is we're still on the early days of this. Mgtow still in its early days. We're still discussing a lot of the issues. We're still trying to find out. We're still, we've gone a long way, no doubt. But when you're addressing the general public, which you are when you're making a YouTube video, YouTube is still public for everybody. It's not, it's not subscription only. It's not for certain demographic. You're speaking to everybody now, so you need to be a lot more diplomatic. You need to talk in a certain way where you address everybody, and you need to speak clearly and in a language that the general public are going to understand. You can't. I hope you excuse me for this. You can't all talk like Marcus.
Oh yeah. Okay.
All respect to you, Marcus. That's no offense, but you guys know what I mean. I hope.
Yeah. Ben's in the room now.
Oh well, that's it. Ben's in the room. We're done.
Yeah, Ben's in the room, and the Warhorse is in the room now.
Warhorse is in the room. That's it. We've achieved it.
We've achieved
enlightenment.
You did put Warhorse in. I didn't know if we did. Maybe he has something to say today. I loved his rib recipe. Did you go over his rib recipe yesterday?
Oh, has he done ribs? I did a really good
ribs.
I did a really good one for ribs.
Yeah, I love ribs. It's coming around that time of the season for us guys in the northern climate, as we can pull out our gas grills and start doing that.
I tell you what. I'll tell you something, guys. Lamb ribs, much better than beef ribs. Try this.
Oh, yeah.
Try the same recipe with lamb ribs or mutton ribs. They are so much better than beef. I mean, beef ribs, they're fantastic, obviously, but they need a lot more flavoring. I think lamb ribs works a lot better. Check it out.
Yeah. We don't get a lot of lamb in America. I'm so unhappy about that. Or if we do buy it, it's like $14 a pound.
Wow, really?
Yeah. It's rather quite expensive. I love lamb.
Over here,
lamb with cumin.
Over here, it's £6 a kilo. So that's a
£6 a kilo. That's 2.5 pounds is a kilo.
Approximately 2.5 pounds. That's right. You're pretty good with that.
Oh, that's really great price. That's the same price we pay for pork over here.
Yeah, I don't know why lamb's so expensive over there. But that's not right, is it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. At one point in my life, I took a look at the price of lamb over here, and I thought, geez, I have to start a lamb farm because it was so that the profit on the end of that is so good. If you just you can make a living by selling 100 lamb a year.
Yeah, one kilogram is 2.2 pounds, so it's about and obviously there's £1.60, £1.50 to every dollar. So that's about £10 a kilo. So that's about $5 a pound.
Yeah, a little under $5 to $4.86 or something like that. You'll come around. Yeah, that's about what we pay for other meats over here. And man, $9 a pound is kind of standard in America, and it's twice the amount of what you're going to pay overseas. For lamb, because we don't do a lot of lamb farming because of the
horrible racism. How much are you paying for your ribs, Warhorse?
Hello. The ones I thought I'd sneak in here real quiet, hide out in the corner for a while.
I like doing that as well. I like to fool everyone.
Well, you've got a darker icon there than I do. Mine kind of pokes out in the black area. The ribs I just bought, I think I made mention they were $6.50, and they were the pork ribs, the short ribs.
Okay.
So and that was probably, oh, let's see, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, between 8 and 10 ribs, connected in a rack. So
Okay.
that's not bad. I mean, they were on sale, so that's why I went ahead and got them. But
Okay.
you can buy, beef ribs. Although with that sauce that I made, Bones there, or Dr. McCoy says too much sugar, and I did put a disclaimer in about if you're a diabetic, don't
I've
make this
seen that.
shit. I mean, it will set you into big time problems. Beef. I don't know about sugar with beef. I'm sure doing them like I did them, it would probably come out all right, but I would back off on a lot of the sweet
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
The meat has gone up recently in the last, wow, I'd say about 6 months. It's almost doubled. I mean, I
Yeah,
have
it
never
has.
seen such crazy prices on meat. You buy a pork shoulder that's 2, 3 pounds, and they're like $75 to $80. I mean, what are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Who the hell's buying this shit? God.
Yeah. That's the product of liberal economics right now. They're just tattooing us, and with the prices, the price of food has doubled since Obama has taken over, hasn't it?
I don't know. I remember back um, when they started with the ethanol gas and everything, and then the price of beef went up because they said, well, the corn got
Yeah.
more expensive, and then we had the mad cow thing that was going on for a while, even though it wasn't in this country, but because we were exporting more of it, the price of beef went up. Then, look at the price of hamburger now. It's gotten more than the
Oh,
price of steak, which is
yeah.
crazy. Uh,
Wow.
and the thing, if you wait, now I know my grocer. I know that they rotate their sales, and about once every month they'll put this particular meat on sale, or once every couple of weeks. And so if they don't have it on sale, you'll see that the price is almost doubled of what it is on sale. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you just hang tight, or double up on your buying when you're
Right.
getting it on sale, put it in the freezer. I've never had a problem with freezer meat. If you thaw it out slowly, but you've got to be a little bit smarter than what you're dealing with, and they do get uppity with their prices. And with the steaks, I like a porterhouse steak, which is typically
I
very
tell you,
expensive.
I tell you the cheapest way of getting meat, and probably a better way of getting meat. If you guys can, if you've got like some friends or family, and you go buy the cow, if you can go buy the
Yeah.
cow, or buy the sheep, it's like a tenth of the price, a tenth of the price.
Oh
Then
yeah, I used to do that. I used to buy a whole freezer. They would deliver a whole cow to my freezer, and or a half side to my freezer,
and
and
then you
they
just
pack
share
it
it
up.
out.
And yeah, I know. You just
Well,
do that.
I think they used to have those guys. They come around and they'd sell you a quarter cow,
Yeah.
and uh, it was a good price, And I'm talking back in the early '80s, maybe,
Yeah, I used to have that.
for
It's
for
called
a couple.
Prime Rib Incorporated used to do it.
Yeah, yeah, one of them places. I mean, they had good meat,
Oh
but
yeah.
you got so much useless shit,
Oh
and
yeah.
you really needed a big freezer. I mean, a huge, like a the what do you call them? The sideways, the freezers where the top opens up.
Industrial
Uh,
freezers.
well,
Yeah.
over here we
Yeah.
have smaller ones, but they're still the size of a medium refrigerator. It's just that the top opens up and they're nothing but a freezer. And you buy this quarter cow and it fills that fucker up.
Oh
And
yeah, it does.
uh, basically, unless you're feeding a small army, most of the meat will get frostburn, and you're going to go after the prime cuts to begin with, and then you're going to get into all this shit unless you do like I do, which is crockpot, to make everything tender. But then you've got these huge chunks of meat. They're frozen, and once you thaw them out again, I mean, you can't refreeze them really. That's not
Mm.
a good idea. So
Yeah, I've
really
got a
winning the
family in
game.
that kind of situation.
Yeah, if you're
Yeah,
the Brady Bunch, buy a
yeah.
cow.
Well,
It's a
that's why
single man tax, isn't it?
that's why guys need to get together and do it like that. You know, if you can get a couple of guys buy
Yeah.
a sheep or buy a cow, a few guys together, 3 guys, you know, or split a cow in 3 or a sheep in 2 or whatever. I think it's a great idea. In fact, I'm thinking of doing that right now. You're doing that right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Isn't
I,
it
I,
another single guy tax? We talk about the single tax all the time, but food is another single tax because if you go buy a single pork chop or a single piece of meat at the store, you're paying a heavy price for that as a single guy.
that's
Oh
the
yeah.
end price. You know, that's absolutely top price you're paying. Yeah.
Well, look, you can't buy around here. I can have a pound of meat. That's about right for me. You know, where I can make a couple meals. A pound of meat is good. Maybe a pound and a half. But everything comes in 3, 4, and 5, or I mean, goddamn
Yeah.
pounds of meat. And basically, if it is on sale, well, I'll come home. I'll cut it up and I'll freeze part of it, put it in a baggie, and all that good shit, and then go on my way. But still, what a hassle. You're
Well,
unloading groceries, and you can't buy small portions, and they look at you funny. You tell them, hey, I just want a pound of this, and they're like, what? Get the fuck out of here. We're not going to use that.
I don't blame them, but I tell you what I do. I buy whole salmon. It's like when they sell salmon in the States or in the fillets, it's like £12. That's about $15
Yeah.
a kilo. But when I buy it like for half the price because I buy the entire salmon. So that's like I think that was like 3-4 kilos of salmon. And then you take it back, and then you have to butcher it yourself. You have to chop it up yourself. It's a lot of work. It takes me about an hour. But I get it for half the price. I mean, for half an hour's, for an hour's work, I think it's worth it. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's another advice. Obviously, this is for the guys in the UK. Yeah, if you're in the UK, go to Asda, Morrison's, get there before 11 a.m. in the morning, and they'll have the whole salmon. And though the salmon they don't sell, they'll slice it up and they'll double the price. But yeah, buy the entire
Okay.
salmon.
And
Well,
that's the
basically,
important.
they're gearing it for families. They're always thinking a husband, a wife, 2 children, and leftovers for a dog. Maybe. So all these portions are way too much. For a single person, and you really have to work hard at finding things that are geared to the smaller, portions that you might eat or the smaller things that you want. You don't need all this crazy, extravagant shit. And they're always assuming that women are buying it. So I
Yeah.
know that my wife, I mean, when she used to go buy groceries for the week for the 2 of us, she never came home for under $200. And we didn't have good, I didn't eat half as good as I do now. And my bill is around $100, and I'm buying a couple cases of beer on top of it.
There
Which
you go.
is
Yeah.
uh,
Do we need a
so.
MGTOW co-op?
We need a
Maybe
Mgtow co-op. It just shows you women are no good at the budget. When it comes to managing money. I mean, my ex was exactly the same as well. Look, with half the money she would spend, I get twice as much. I just want to add to what was his point because it just reminds me of when I was
Yeah.
hitched. It's just hilarious the type of
Yeah.
things she buy and the brand she buy. It's like, oh, those are the
Well,
days.
no, my wife would look at sales and everything, and she was aware of getting things cheaper, but then she'd buy 2 or 3 of them, and they'd rot, or you wouldn't use them, or she'd come home with like wind chimes, because the grocery store had wind chimes on sale too, and like what'd you pay for? They were only $4, What the fuck? Where are we gonna hang these goddamn things, or what? I mean, they're hanging on the porch because you can't even put them outside. I still have them. And, why do you buy this when you go food shopping? Get some decent fucking food and buy that. And, she told me when we first met, oh, you buy too expensive stuff, Yeah, well, if I want a steak, I want a good fucking steak. I don't want
Yeah.
some cheap shit.
Yeah, and
But
at least you use it all. I mean, at least that gets eaten. I mean, things normally a woman buys, half of it gets thrown away because nobody wants it.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
all the funny vegetables and the funny fruits that nobody likes.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why if somebody made a comment about they'd rather have a crock pot than a wife because the crock pot doesn't call a lawyer. And I replied something to the effect of, yeah, and the crock pot actually cooks for you, too.
There
You
you
know,
go.
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because we've got that perception that women are the cooks, but they're not. They're not.
No,
Especially,
they say they do things, but they never do things. They say they clean a house, but they never clean a house. They say they're always the ones washing the clothes. But they don't do that. In
they don't do
reality,
that.
no. They I never seen my wife
you know,
actually do
Joe,
those things.
Joe, I got a little story to tell about my wife, and I caught her doing this when we had the business. She ran the office and everything. We had slow days, off season and everything. And after lunch, she'd say, "Well, if you don't need me anymore, I'm going home." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know, if we get anything coming in." She's, "Well, I got to do house cleaning and laundry and blah blah blah." So, all right, good, get out of here. Go, go, go. I'll take care of it. And I'd come home, and she'd be vacuuming, or she'd just be getting the laundry out and everything. And I thought, wow, and I'd look around the house, and I'm like, holy fuck, she's been home all afternoon, and she's only got about 4 streaks in the carpet. You could see where the vacuum's been. And how does this work? So one day I decided, well, we got nothing to do. I locked up the place early, and about an hour or so, and I went home. Well, I walked in the house real quiet through the garage, and here she is in front of the TV.
Yeah.
She's got the vacuum out, plugged in and everything, okay, ready to go, and she's in front of the TV watching one of these fucking Oprah shows or whatever the hell they watch, soap opera. And I walked in, and she fucking flew off the couch like, holy fuck, what are you doing here? And shit. Yeah, cleaning house. I said, good job. She says, well, I took a break, I said, break my ass. I said, yeah, look at the carpet. You haven't even done 5 inches. You put the thing out. And she finally admitted to me later on. I said, I caught you too many times. I said, I'm not playing this game anymore.
Yeah.
And she says, well, you're right. She says, I used to do that with my ex-husband. And I said, don't play those fucking games with me, man. You wait until you hear my car pull up or the door slam, and you jump up and you start vacuuming like you're working all day. Why don't you just tell me the truth? You want to go home and fuck off and watch TV. I'd be good with that, Don't lie to me. But this is the way women do this shit. They make it appear like they're really, oh my God, so, this is what you need them for, to take care of your house, to take care of everything else.
Yeah.
They put some goddamn shit in a microwave oven and then spoon it out on a regular dish and tell you they cooked all day. Nah, come on.
It's how women sell themselves on the dating websites as well. It's like I'm really good at this. I'm really good at cooking. I can do my own sewing, and I can I'm really good around the house and all that stuff. And it's totally nonsense. It's all total nonsense.
Well, look, I've had a couple girls in here now to clean the house, and I've gone through them like underwear. I mean, there isn't one of them that has come in. They'll make it look like they're busy and they're running around.
Right.
And by the time they're done, I got to put more shit back where it was, how it was, and then I look at the floor and it's all streaked up. It looks worse than it did before they started, And I'm thinking, what the fuck am I paying them for? And I fired them. The last one came recommended by a buddy that I've known for years. And he says, yeah, she does my place, great job, She came in here, and every time I turned around, she was sitting at the dining room table smoking a cigarette. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm paying her by the hour, and she's smoking a cigarette. So, I need my house cleaned. What does she do? She does the bathroom. She wipes the top of the toilet off, the sink off, vacuums the carpet a little bit, and I only have place carpets, little carpets, not, and my floor is the linoleum. And I get the floors and mop the floors. So she mopped the floors with a dirty bucket of water. I mean, she went around the whole place and never cleaned the water once, right?
Spread the dirt around.
Yeah.
To spread it around evenly.
My shoes were squeaking after I was walking, and it wasn't from clean. It was from dirty. I said, holy fuck, I saw my buddy over the weekend, and he's like, oh, how did you like her, and this and that, and I said, hey, tell you what, let's not talk about it. and
Yeah.
he dropped it. He knew exactly where I was coming from. This is what women do. They put on a show, expect to get paid a lot for it. You know, and I mean the last one, she wasn't super expensive, but she wasn't cheap. $15 an hour. But then again, she's sitting there smoking cigarettes half of the time.
Yeah, and
So
when you think about
and
the
and
time it takes to do that, it's just ridiculously. It takes me a half hour every day to mop the floor, vacuum the floor, and throw my laundry in. A half hour tops. That's it. It,
yeah, it
it
doesn't even take me that long. And I don't mop the floor every day or anything like that. And I'm trying to get rid of a lot of shit here to make it easier to clean the place. But uh, doing laundry, holy crap! I walk out there, I fill the washing machine up, and I walk away. And
yeah,
do something else. I mean, that takes me all of not even 5 minutes to do that. Put soap in,
yeah.
turn the water on, throw the clothes in.
You don't have to sit there and watch it.
No, no, you're not scrubbing it on a board or a rock.
Yeah.
You're not beating it,
Oh,
and
you
you're
talk
not.
to some of these feminists, they act like laundry is like with the old washboard in there. They're sitting outside boiling water and shit. It's like no, it's not that hard. It takes like 2 minutes.
That's the
The
way.
way I
That's the
used,
way my grandmother used to do laundry on a washboard in a tub, and she was bent over. I mean, she worked. And then she'd put it through the wringer and all that bullshit, and then
yeah,
hang it all up on the clothesline. Yeah, that was hard. I have an electric washing machine and an electric dryer. It doesn't get fucking simpler. I take the shit out of the washing machine, throw it into the dryer, turn that on, and have another load going, and walk away again
I walk
until it's
away.
done.
Yeah,
And I mean,
they
God,
even
what
have
what
washers
is?
and dryers in the same machine now. You just throw it in and you press the button and it washes and drying in the same machine.
Oh, jeez. Oh, fuck. Hey, yeah, that's high tech compared to what I have. I have two machines. I mean,
I've got
really, where's the work involved? And if you call it folding or whatever, I mean, usually I'm listening to the internet or, I got something going on in the background. I'm drinking a beer. I throw the shit on the bed. I stand there and I fold the shit up. The drawers are right behind me, and I'm done. Fuck, it's not a job. It's
No,
just, uh,
you just do it naturally as the day progresses, and they overdo it very terribly with this idea of housework, and this boils down to mom's work too. You know what the mom's work really is? You put the kid on the bus, and most of them don't even walk them out to the bus anymore, and then they go to school for 8 hours of that mom's work day, and then and they sit around and watch TV shows all day and do that half hour of actual work, and then the kids come home at the end of the day about the same time the father picks them up on the way home from work. That's the mom's work they talk about,
well,
throwing the kid on the bus.
look, I had a family move in across the street here on the highway, and they've got to have at least. I mean, talk about the Brady Bunch. I think that is the Brady Bunch over there because they've got a couple girls, they've got about four boys, so at least six kids, and they're all between the ages of like holy shit, 6 and maybe 15 or whatever. And I see these boys out there. They're playing football, they're playing basketball. They put a hoop up, but I'm on a major highway here, right?
Yeah.
So every morning the bus comes at around 7:30. The mother walks out with one of the young boys. He's probably about eight or so, I don't know. And she stands there with him, right? But then when they get home, and they don't get home until holy shit, like 4 o'clock or 4:30. So they're gone a long time. And the kids come home, and then I see them playing football out there, and they're constantly throwing the ball, and it's going into the highway. Now, cars are going by at 60 miles an hour, I mean, a lot of them, and there's no mother out there.
There's no mother
But
out there. Yeah.
she's done
Do,
her
do,
she's done her duty by going out to the bus stop, which there's no neighbors, there's nobody going to pull over to try to kidnap this kid on a major friggin' highway, a two-lane highway, but she's doing her motherly thing
yeah.
in the
Did you
morning.
see the Did you see the new movie out, Bad Moms? Did you see that
No.
trailer I put? Oh God, go watch that. It's so disgusting. and
Oh, the trailer. Yeah. I did see that. Yeah.
oh, they get. She's like having this hectic morning, and she's a single baby mama, and she's cooking pancakes, and then the kids are like, and the dog comes in, and they're making it out like it's such a big deal. I've had kids for a long time, and the thing is, when I wake up in the morning, I was going to cook pancakes anyways, and it didn't take no extra effort to make four.
Yeah, right.
The same thing I do for the kids is the same thing I do for myself. I was going to throw my laundry in anyways, and it doesn't matter if it's a small load or a large load. It's no extra work.
Right.
And this idea that they got these single baby mamas are these heroic people doing this hard work. It's not hard work. It's the same thing you would do for yourself anyways. I was going to clean the house anyways because I like a clean house. I had to do that for myself anyways. Having kids is so inexpensive, really. And we get back to the when you buy your meat bulk because you do have a family and everything, it doesn't take a whole lot to raise a family. If you just do the things properly you do for yourself and you add them onto it, it's a very small marginal cost and it's very small marginal work. And that's it. That movie is about moms not wanting to be moms anymore. They don't want to. They don't want to be moms. That's their biggest complaint. They want to be drunk whores.
I think they're overemphasizing it's a look at me, and look at what I do, and
Yeah.
I want to medal for what I do because what I do is so hard and so complicated and intricate, and I'm dealing with nothing but stupid men. Look at me,
Yeah, look at me.
Look
And
how
it goes
great
back to that old. They want a pat on the back for something I can get a child to do. My kid
Right.
could throw. My when my son was 8 years old, he knew how to do his own laundry. And they want a pat on the back for something a child does, like take out the garbage. It's like, oh, you need to pat him on the back and say, oh, good girl, you did the same job a freaking 8-year-old kid can do.
Yeah. I see that actually the neighbors, because if I'm in my chair, they're in my line of sight. So I see them play the ball. I'm constantly waiting for a car to hit them or whatever. But, I see when the garbage cans are out, and they're out right now, and about 4 garbage cans are scattered all over the front, where the guys threw them down. And I know the mother's home and the oldest daughter who drives, she's home too. And those garbage cans are out there. Now, I've seen it every week. When that little boy comes home, that 8-year-old or 10, whatever he is, he'll run out there after he goes into the house, gets his books put away or whatever. He runs out there and he brings all them garbage cans in. So they're training them right off the bat. These 2 women sitting there at home can't even leave the fucking air-conditioned house to walk out there and put those goddamn garbage cans away. That's your goddamn wife for you, and your women.
Women, all the credit and privilege without any other responsibility, and men all the responsibility without any other credit or privilege.
I have absolutely no use for a female in my life. I mean, I can't, and I've gotten into arguments with people at bars about it. Tell me what I need a fucking woman for, and everything that they bring up is bullshit. Oh, company. Yeah, you fucking joking me? If I buy you a beer right now, I've got company. Actually, I've got your company without buying you a beer. What the fuck do I need a woman for in my life? I can't get a decent answer. I just have no need for a woman. And, that might be because of my age, too. I just don't have that sexual urge. But looking back on my life, that was the only reason I wanted a woman.
I think a lot of guys would save themselves a lot of trouble if they could get to that point where they don't need a woman anymore. I think a lot of people would save a lot of headache and a lot of money as well.
Oh yeah,
well,
definitely.
It's sexual drive, I think. That and that romantic idea of that nuclear family and Jesus, all that garbage we've been taught. And look, I definitely grew up with it. The whole wanting a family, the house, and the dog and the white picket fence bullshit. Um, Although I went luckily into the biker lifestyle, which, okay, now having a white picket fence and the 2 point something kids and everything else, that went out the window because being a real biker, if you will, back then meant you didn't have that shit, you didn't want it. So I had a little bit of heads up on the game, but having pussy was always on the top of the list. I mean, it was
Yeah.
always
That,
uh,
that's the only thing there is to having a woman around, and we understand that as Mgtows. When these PUAs or these MRAs and these people come to us and they say there's such these great benefits of having a woman around, we know what they're really saying is they're doing it for the pussy, and that because that's the only benefit of having a woman around.
If we just take that for a second and just think about that, I mean, it's not rational, is it? It's not reasonable. It's not the sign of a reasonable mind that you want to take or bring on such a responsibility as being partnered up with a woman just for that short-term release of that sexual gratification. If you think about it logically, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
the other thing is that I, they're guys my age. I was at Lowe's the other day, which like a Home Depot, a big hardware type store, looking at kitchen cabinets. I was looking for an island, and I go back there. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning, and there are two guys sitting there, and one of them's like, he's in his mid-50s, maybe late 50s, working for the place. And I asked him about this thing. The other guy's looking it up, and I got talking to the older guy, and he says, "Oh yeah, I just got married again." And I says, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." Oh, he says, "Oh yeah, I got a big mouth. You guys know me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll
I
say
do the
this
same
shit right
thing.
out, man. I don't back off of anybody." And he says, "Oh no, she's not like that at all," and everything. And then the other guy says, "Is that number right?" And I kind of ignored him. I was just gonna go into, "Oh yeah, that unicorn shit and everything." I felt like, "Oh man, this is what I need." 8 o'clock in the morning, an argument in fucking Lowe's, kitchen department with a guy my own age, punching it out. But that's the mentality. This guy has never taken a deep breath to look at life. He kind of reflected that his first wife was a pain, and this one now is not like that, And when he said that, it brought me into, holy fuck, how many times have we talked about this shit, Nawalt, and this guy, he had no clue. I mean, he never. I don't think this guy hangs out on the internet, And man, oh fuck, I was biting my lips so hard not to just let him have it with both barrels. But I thought, well, fuck it, he's married now anyway. So what's he gonna do?
Yeah.
He's not gonna agree with me because he already
justify that. Yeah.
he stepped off the edge of the cliff again.
Yeah, that is a disgusting sight when you see those males simp like that, isn't it? The older males, the guys our age that are like, I walked into a bar and I was proselyting Mgtows, and there was a few of them in this place that I was going to, and then there was a 71-year-old man that was sitting next to me at one point, and he was simping, and he was like, "Oh, I need companionship, I need a woman around," and I was like, "Motherfucker, really, really, at your age, you never got over that," and it was so disgusting when I looked at it. Just the only answer I could give him is take some wormwood and some walnut oil and try to get rid of that simping because it's disgusting.
I was watching TFM's video on the enemy of man, and he's got that video. Man's enemy is his sexual drive.
Yeah.
And he talks about it then, and even before I watched that, I sort of theorized that it's an emotional need more than anything. The need for a man to have sex with a woman.
Yeah,
I think it's emotional.
It's not sexual anymore. I got one buddy here. He used to ride in a club I rode with, and I see him occasionally, and he's got this, really low class white trash bitch. I mean, and whatever. He says, yeah, I think we're going to get married last time I saw him. And he's 73 now, or he was then.
Mm.
And I said, what the fuck for? He says, she cleans my clock pretty good. And I just kind of laughed. I'm like, fuck, man, dude, you couldn't get it up with a piss hard on, And there's nobody cleaning your clock anymore. This is bullshit. But,
God.
I kind of let it go. I just waved him off like, fuck off. Who are you fooling? Jesus Christ,
Did you ever have one of those?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Did you ever have one of those experiences? Me and my buddy walked into the convenience store. We were getting a 12-pack one day, and we seen a guy that used to be at the bar, and then we started talking to him, and we kind of lost touch with him. And then this girl that comes walking up, and we know her as Freebie Jill.
Oh dear.
Because everybody had a piece of that, and he was like, "Oh, here, let me introduce you to my wife." And we were all thinking, "Oh my God!" Both of our heads just hit the ground, and we thought every guy at that bar has had a piece of that. He was so happy. He was like, "She's such a good girl," and we were just, "Oh my God!" Oh, it's not. We knew who it was and everything. We didn't have the audacity to tell him straight out. Yeah, we've all had that.
Poor guy. I know.
But he was such a simp, and he needed that so bad. He was convincing himself that this was the Noel. She was Freebie Jill.
We used to have this attitude back when, with bike clubs, you had what we called a club mama, and she was basically the girl in the club that kind of, everybody got a piece of her.
Yeah.
She was just a hang around. She was nobody's real old lady, and this, that, and the other. And then years after, you'd kind of hear like, oh yeah, she married so and so, and you just roll on the floor. It's like, holy fuck, I wonder what all our dicks taste like. I mean, goddamn, it was just unbelievable that somebody would marry that kind of shit, and it wasn't a guy that didn't know her past, It was like, yeah, okay, we finally got tired of her shit, kicked her out. She had to move on, she was looking raggedy and kind of fucking used up, and out you go. And then you find out later on, what, she married this, fucking idiot.
He needed that so bad, that company, that validation, that addiction, whatever he's trying to fulfill, he needed that so bad, he was willing to take that. And you see a lot of these guys.
It's a sad state for men, though, isn't it? Because even if you check out my video, where have all the goodwill been gone? Where I'm talking about these celebrity single mothers, where she's had like 3, 4, 5 children to 3, 4, 5 different men, and then the fifth man she's married to, I mean, he can see that she's been through. I mean, she's a celebrity as well, so obviously she's been through a lot of men. So and the fifth guy that gets married to that woman takes on all those kids. Takes on that woman.
Oh, that's cockholding in the most. Oh God, that's horrible. That's horrible. But we see this all the time in our society. That it's become men have some dignity. I mean, we need to put that away. And there's a lot of those guys out there that'll just accept that in their life, and that's the programming. They're so beat down by life, they would do anything just to have somebody around. They never learned how to entertain themselves.
It's strange because there's more women in the West than men. As we can look at the stats, the population stats will tell us that there's more women than men. So there's no need for you to be so desperate, and it's only because women have been playing this game where they've been withholding sex, they've been, helping put society that put the vagina on the pedestal, helping society put that vagina on the pedestal, raising it up, and men are just so willing just to sell themselves so short. So obviously it's led to this culture of men just just going after any type of pussy, and that woman, no matter how skanky she is or how much of a whore she's been, she can always find some man that'll take on her 5 kids and take on all her shit. It never gets sad. It never gets any less sad than that. I'll send you about my. Hopefully, I'll bring him on. I've got this friend. He's just split up from his missus. I'm trying to get him on. He's on Google Hangouts. I'm telling him to get a microphone. Hopefully, I'll bring him on. And
Okay. And
last time I spoke to him, he's still talking about going to nightclubs and meeting girls in the pubs and stuff. And he's like got 2 kids, and he's like he's just like moved out of his house. He's got like a shared mortgage, and he's still talking to me about going to nightclubs and stuff. And it's very worrying. The guys just don't learn.
Yeah, that was my point when I said the other day in my video about Uncle Daddy number 7 and 8. It's like, yeah, Uncle Dad. That's what in these PUAs. Let me talk about these PUAs for a second. When they're going to the bar and they're picking up those girls, they're getting freebie Jill. That's what they're getting. That girl's been around freaking everywhere, and they think that's the greatest hit in the whole world. It takes nothing to get freebie Jill. It takes nothing.
Do you think men are designed that way though, or do you think that's society? You think that's a social construct where men they get social validation? You know, I've been through this, so you know, this many women, or I've had this many, or I pulled last night, or I had sex last night. You think that's programming to men, or that's social?
Yeah,
well, actually, sure. Yeah, I mean, look, you know, I've heard it a lot lately. Guys disseminating this whole thing about you know, why do women get called sluts and men get called a you know, a player or whatever. It's because women, all they have to do is say yes, you know, and men have to pursue. They have to chase it down. They have to wine and dine it. They have to go after all this stuff, and then conquer that and get it into bed. Actually, so for men, that's that's kind of a you know, a notch in the bedpost, if you will. For women, it's just too easy. All they have to do is say, okay, you know, and I mean, what the fuck, you know, they don't really have to go out of their way. Of course, the way women look nowadays, maybe more of them do, because they're turning into fat pigs, you know, and I mean, shit like that. But they still, if they lower their standards enough, any woman can get laid by just accepting. Right?
Any time of the day. Any time of the day, any place.
My buddy had a great answer to that, because the question is, why is it okay for a man to go out and succeed in these things, these mating processes, and he gets a pat on the back for it, and why is it not okay for a woman? And his answer was, because a man pulls it out, goes home and washes it off. A woman gets it inside of her and it stays with her forever.
Okay, but what if that's not the case? What if, obviously, like in our society, everybody wears a rubber?
You know how that goes. She's a rubber. You have that on for about 2 times, and then it goes flying across the room, and then it's bareback.
Is that really the case?
It's really the case. Men, be honest about that. Anytime you've gone over sex with a woman for maybe 4 or 5 times, did you have a rubber on?
I don't know. Warhorse?
No, I mean, look, I think I only ever did it with one bitch with a rubber on in my entire life, and she was a lingerie model. And the second time I was with her, the goddamn rubber ripped, and you know, after that it was like, okay, fuck it, you know. But then she went to the doctor, you know, I paid half the bill. At least she was bisexual and all that shit. And it was a very short-lived thing. But other than that, I don't think I ever used a rubber. But remember, back in those days, we didn't have the AIDS epidemic. We didn't have, you know, we had a lot of shit that maybe you caught, and a shot would take care of it, you know.
All right. Well, let's put this out there. Let's ask the guys listening. I mean, just as a general, did you guys use a condom, Mgtow condom? What happened to that guy, Mgtow condom?
Mgtow condom. I love that guy.
Well, you know, well, Eric's there. Eric, I think Eric's older than all of us, isn't he? And Neo's there. Well, ask Ben. Ben seems to be a man of the world, doesn't he? Yeah. Who else is there?
Yeah.
Well, ask those guys out there. Did you?
Yeah, how many times you may have used it once, and then that was over. And I have had women just take them off and throw them and say, "No, we're not doing that."
Really? I thought it was the other way around. I thought normally it would be the woman that would be most keen to get that.
Yeah, that's such a lie by by anybody. I think it's one of those PUA lies. Again, that's like, oh, I got this stack of condoms I use and everything. No, anytime you get into a situation, it always degenerates into bareback.
Well, look, the reality of the matter is that most of the women back in my day were on both birth control,
Yeah,
or a lot of them had hysterectomies, and couldn't get pregnant. And women really didn't want to get pregnant, or not in my circle of people. Okay, so, and I can understand why the women wouldn't want to get pregnant in that crowd, but and I put myself in that crowd, so I'm not really saying anything bad, but it was that type of an atmosphere back then where if a chick, I mean, she wouldn't even be hanging around the people I was hanging around if she was looking to get a family or a child or anything like that. It just wasn't conceivable.
right.
So I never did the disco scene, the clubbing scene, any of that shit. That was all for punks. So I never went into that, and I never had to deal with those type of women. So not sexually or on a relationship basis. So and times have changed nowadays to where and I can't see why anybody would bother to fuck with a rubber on. I mean, you might as well jacking off would feel better. You'd have more sensation jacking off. I'm not joking.
There is that one time I hit it and quit it. Where you use a rubber, but in any kind of relationship, you're not using it, because you're supposed to do one thing. You're supposed to know who you're with. You're supposed to know the quality of the person you're with, and there's supposed to be a trust there that she hasn't slept around with a million guys, and that's why you pick that quality of person.
I know, but if you're in a bar or if you're in a club, it's
if
not
you're in
going to
a
be
bar and you're hitting Freebie
case.
Jill, you want to use a rubber.
Freebie Jill. All right. Well, Eric says he always used a condom. So did Ben. I think Ben's only had. He's been loyal. He's been monogamous. So the guys out in the chat are saying they mainly use condoms. But no, and I'm with you two guys. I mean, that's what. I don't know. I don't know. I guess there's no study that's been doing it. But then comes the question: do men really need sex, or is it just something they think they need?
They think they need it. It's the high-five bro thing. You get that.
It is a lot of fun. Come on, and it does feel good. When you're young, I mean, that's some good shit. I can't deny that, or at least in my case, it was. Look, not every woman that I'd been with, and I had quite a few one-night stands, were worth the effort. Very disappointing. Very, God, and Jesus. Some mornings you wake up and it's like, what the fuck is that smell?
Oh,
and
yes.
yeah, but I mean, for the most part. My first marriage, I wasn't monogamous. I was a roving, cheating, but she knew it, and she kind of even helped me with it at times. And, after that, I kind of went wild after we divorced. And then my second wife, I never cheated on her. I mean, I was completely monogamous, and I think I got it out of my blood by then, with all the freebie Janes or whatever you're calling them here. I've had enough of that, and when my wife finally died here, about a year ago, shit, man, I was so over it. It wasn't even funny, and I'm glad I am.
How about the entire package, though? Not just sex, but also the entire wife, girlfriend experience, to have somebody who you're romantically attached to have like a female partner, either moving in or engaged, or will men have a mental or a physical detriment? Will it be detrimentally harmful to men if they don't have a female relationship?
No.
Well, look, here's the thing. When it's good, it's really good. The relationship, the sex, everything else. And when that stops and it's not good anymore, it really gets bad quick.
It really gets bad. Yeah,
And
what are you
that's
gonna?
the thing. They're all in the waltz at one time or another. They're all that unicorn, for a certain amount of time. Some of them are the unicorn for longer than others, And I got lucky because my unicorn lasted 24 years, so I really got lucky. But uh, with her, it was an illness and everything else. But the true female nature just flowed out of her like you wouldn't believe. Everything we talk about. Once the inhibitions dropped, once that whole facade dropped of what life was, and okay, I realized that, but I also realized what happened, and so on and so forth. So while it was good, it was great. But when it got shitty, and I see this over and over again with marriages, even the bar owner that married the barmaid over here, the dumb fucker, years ago, her ex-boyfriend was in there, and he finally got kicked out because the guy's an asshole. He's a drunken white trash redneck, always looking for fights. The owner kicked him out, and she sent a message. I just talked to a guy a couple weeks ago to her ex-boyfriend and said, well, this dickhead husband of mine, he's just an asshole, so it wasn't me kicking you out. This is something she sent out to her ex-boyfriend after she married the fucking guy she was working for to get an easy trip through life. I mean, you see this shit over and over and over again. It never ends.
But that's the point. Men keep on going back to it. No matter how disastrous their previous relationship, there's always like a huge portion of men that keep on going back to this relationship stuff. It's like they can't get enough of their children taken over them. They can't get enough of their money, enough of their freedom. They can't get taken through the grinder enough. It's like you mentioned that 73-year-old man, and he's going back to relationships. I mean,
oh god, yeah.
Some guys definitely think that they believe that they need it.
Yeah, you don't need it, really. Is there any medical evidence that you need it? And I hear the Christians and this PragerU guy. He says it's a fact that men that are married live longer. I think men that are married live shorter.
They do.
I think they do.
That's a proven fact. And everything PragerU said was a reason not to get married.
Right.
I had to laugh, and I made that comment on that video. I says, you just gave every fucking reason in the world not to get married. I mean, you're working more hours. Yeah, you're making a little bit more money, but you're spending a fuckload more because of her and the kids and everything else that you're doing, keeping up with the Joneses. Holy fuck, are you that stupid? And the guy, stupid. They are. He believed what he was saying was a plus. It was a good thing to him. And to me, I'm like, are you fucking joking me? This is not a good thing. Everything you brought up is a negative.
He's been programmed. He's been programmed to see good as bad and bad as good.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. You want to get that idea in your head. Look at the monks of Athos, where there's no women around. They lived on an average to 86 years old.
And they seem quite happy as well, which is like...
quite happy. The only thing they don't do, and they'll say, oh, well, it's their diet. Is that they start making up reasons to justify what's going on there. The only thing they don't have in their wife is stress from women.
Yeah, life. But what was interesting was the amount of men that are applying to become a monk in Athos. I mean, that was quite surprising. They've got. Is it like a 23-year waiting list or something?
Yeah, they've got like 1,200 people from all around. And if you're not a high status person in these organizations, they won't even look at you to come into there. I mean, there's a huge waiting list.
Yeah, there's a huge waiting list. Obviously, every year they take on something like 5 or 6, and I think they lose like 1 or 2 a year. But that was what was interesting for me, was just to see the amount of men that wanted to be in that type of a society or environment. But let me just put this to you guys. So if men can live without the relationship, if they can live without, if you can remove all the affection and all the victim role of being in a relationship with a woman, what about those men who would say just live on seeing prostitutes or escorts? I mean, some men are saying, well, that's the way forward. You know,
Yeah,
not relationships, but
I think personally, I think that's a god awful idea.
yeah,
Anytime you dealing with women, and somebody forwarded a Sandman video, and I hate to bring this guy up again, but I listened to half of it, and he said again, MGTOW can date, and that's okay, and this and that. I don't believe it is. The more you put yourself at the risk of being around a woman, uh, you can't be on top of your game all the time. To where women are, they're naturally on top of their game, and you will have your guard down at one time or
yeah,
another. So whether that's with a girlfriend that you're only going to see, and okay, let's say she can't even leave a toothbrush at your place, or whatever. I'm sorry, but you still open yourself up to that type of abuse.
right.
And she has got the upper hand in it. And a prostitute definitely has the upper hand because she is more streetwise than most guys I'll ever know.
Yeah.
And
If
yeah,
you can control that thing, you may not belong in Mgtow. And I say Mgtow is not for everybody. You can't come in here and say that every man belongs in Mgtow, even the blue pill guys. If you Mgtow is about self-control, and if you don't have that self-control it takes to be a Mgtow in certain levels, then you
discipline.
don't belong around here. Just go back to the Matrix or go to the MRA.
Mm.
well,
Yeah.
look, I think, Ben just says, well, it's easier for you to feel that way at this point in your life. Um, yes, it is, but the dangers are still there, okay? And regardless of where you're at in your life, learning to control it is
Yeah.
going to be something that you can do because, look, I went to prison for a while. And one thing you got to get through your head is that you're not God's gift to women anymore, and you're not a coxman. You might as well put that shit out of your head for whatever time you spend in the pokey.
Yeah.
And once you do that, once you learn how to uh, control your own mind, things come together, and it's easier said than you think it is. And not only that, but uh, I think that a lot of times the sexual urge and everything is because guys feel lonely
Right.
and they're not filling their life up with the right type of things,
Right.
uh, uh, and they're calling it loneliness. And I think Robin Williams put it the best when he said, there's nothing worse than being with somebody and feeling more alone than if you're on your own
Mm.
and alone. You
Yeah.
know,
We've all been there, haven't we, guys?
Oh yeah, that's
right?
what I felt
You
with
know,
those end years with my ex. Is like I was more alone with her than I was until I started, fulfilling some things that I wanted to do finally. And man, they say it's hard to do. It's not that hard to do. I put that thing away at my almost my sexual peak. Uh, in my 40s, I put that thing away, and it's not that hard. It's just a little bit of self control, a lot of self control, and just being tenacious about it. And then when you look at the other side, there's a solace in it. And then once you see that solace, it makes it so much easier.
Mm. Well, I just want to touch because I always feel we always abandoned Cyborg or Dr. McCoy. He says that he finds it disgusting. Says it's not a risk factor. He just finds it disgusting. Now, if you look at that on a scientific level, on a very physical level, sex is a very disgusting thing. If you think about it, I mean,
That's what James
your,
did, MLM.
your piss comes out of there. It's a very, I mean, none of us would put it in our own mouths. Let's face it.
Oh God, no. Oh.
what's that one movie? I forget. They were working at some kind of fast food restaurant, and they had a black manager woman and everything. And the one crazy employee there, young kid, he kept saying, come on, admit it, ass to mouth is okay, and this and that. And she finally says, well, in the heat, finally she had, she says, in the heat of the moment, yes, ass to mouth is fine. And they all fall over themselves, going, I knew it, and that's what it is, the heat of the moment. You know,
And that's why, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Sex is like a 99% emotional thing. It's got nothing to do with a biological need. Even though it's a biological urge, the urge is in your emotions. It's in your head.
Yeah, it's all in your head. These guys that try to sell us that, and it's the Nico thing that we need to have this or you're gonna die. And even Speznet says, "Oh, you need to have this or you're gonna die." That's so untrue. It is so easy to put away, and it's 99% emotional.
Can I just pick up on that? Because
yeah, go ahead.
Do you know who was saying that a while ago? And Stardust and RBK was calling them out for it. Paul Elam. He was saying the same thing, and Stardust and Rage Blake Candy was saying Paul Elam is an idiot for saying that you need this or you're gonna die. I know these are the same guys. Well, apart from RBK, these are the same guys that are now who was criticizing Paul Elam for saying it. They're saying it themselves. It's quite funny.
It's the cult thing. It's the cultism. How they trap people in a cult is to tell them that if you go away from the cult, something bad's going to happen to you. And that's what it is. It's a cult trap. Oh, if you go away from sex, you're going to die. And then guys buy into it. Oh, I got to keep having this. I got to keep doing this because I'm going to die.
I had to listen to TFM's video. TFM, we invited him. By the way, I'm going to call him out. We invited him into this chat, and he's jumped out, the cheeky bastard. But anyway, I had to listen to his talk a couple of times, and I did find some really interesting points to it. And he's basically saying, well, something that it's not new. I mean, we talk about it here all the time, and we're saying, replace that. The companionship, the camaraderie, the intellectual stimulation, all that stuff with the guys. I think that's what's been lost in society. That the fact that how male interaction with each other is now missing. It's not something that's sold in society as something that's great or fantastic. Can I just pick up on Invincible? He just made quite a funny comment. He said that he read about the tennis player Boris Becker. Some girl gave him a blowjob in the closet, but 5 years later, she claimed to have a baby by him, and the DNA proved positive. So she must have taken it out of her mouth and stuffed it inside her vagina.
Oh, Jesus.
And I remember reading that story. Some woman did claim that she had Boris Becker's baby, and he said, "No, that's impossible." I didn't know that about that second part about the other DNA, but I did remember reading about Boris Becker having this child. What's it called when you have a baby you don't know about it?
I don't know about
it. What's it called? Some guy was making a joke. He says, "You're not in the ghetto. You're not living in a real ghetto unless you've had a baby and you don't realize it." You don't know about it.
I sometimes wonder if I've had any, but God, I sure as fuck wouldn't want to know. Not anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you guys ready to play Name That Movie? Are you ready, Warhorse? No, I'm just joking.
Hey, I gotta point out a movie I watched last night, real quick before you go into that. Okay. It's London Falling.
Oh yeah.
Holy fuck! What a good movie. Jesus Christ. Wow, I was on the edge of my damn seat, man. I was sitting there swinging my arms around and punching at the air. That was fucking excellent. Anyway, all right, go ahead with your.
Oh, I've not got a game. I was just teasing you all.
Oh, okay. No game.
I heard Hardcore Henry's good, by the way. Hardcore Henry.
Don't you have to have the what is that, 3D Optimum, what do they call that with the helmet?
That's what, the 3D?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
I was gonna steal Hardcore Henry, but it looks like that movie that you have to have that helmet.
3D glasses.
Yeah, not the 3D glasses, but the
Optimus Rift.
Optimus Rift, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that. But anyway, what did you think about Heartburn's last video, Warhorse? I know you'll have a...
No, I didn't see it. I made a statement earlier that he used to do a lot of pro-black videos where I thought, well, maybe the dude's half black, because he was coming down real hard on the whites, and he was coming down, how nasty the white people have treated him, and
Well,
all the
no,
wrongs and shit. And now he did this, but yeah, I kind of, look, a lot of the guys do a lot of good videos for a lot of guys that need that type of information. So I don't watch a lot of people that I know are into it. I might have to begin with, but when they become preachy, and it's the same thing, and they're going through all this stuff, it really doesn't apply to me. So I can't sit through these videos
oh, are you not
over and over.
are you not interested in the Trump Hillary candidacy?
Well, kinda, yeah. I mean, I certainly don't want Hillary getting in. Um, for obvious reasons, but yeah, I am, and believe me, I'm no Trump lover, but
Mm. Bernie,
here we
Bernie
here
for
we
you then.
look here. No, 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 fuck no. I mean, I think Bernie Sanders would be worse than Jimmy Carter. Talk about a lame
Oh,
duck.
I like Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, but come on, the guy was a fucking dud. He had
Okay.
no backbone. He had no.
Okay, no Trump, no Hillary, no Bernie
Well,
for
no,
you.
no, no. I think, look, of the lesser of all evils, Trump at least is so politically incorrect. I like him for that fact alone, that he's politically incorrect. He's not like an SJW type. Yeah, of course he likes his women and shit, but the fucking guy's got so much money. Holy fuck, if a chick takes half of his money, he's still richer than 100,000 of us put together. So who the fuck cares? But he's his own man, although he's crazier than hell. But I think this is what we need. Look at Putin, from Russia. The guy's not wrapped up too tight either, and yet he demands respect. He does what he wants. He does what's right, what he thinks is right. Whether I agree with it or not doesn't matter. So, look, let's see how this plays out. The system in this country is corrupt as shit. The general vote really has no meaning. It's the collegiate college that's going to decide who gets in or not. And it's looking like they're going to put Hillary in whether we vote for her or not, like they did with Bush. Look, we've had 16 years of a hillbilly and this black Muslim guy fucking up this country.
He's not Muslim.
The fuck he isn't. His father was a Muslim, and he bows down to the fuckers and does everything for him. He's a Muslim. I don't give a fuck what. I mean, we've had the redneck and the Muslim for 16 years. Look at where we're at. Okay, nice going, and both of them are brain dead on different levels. So, how much more brain dead is Trump than George Bush or Obama? What the fuck? But she's just a fucking lowlife crook.
Oh, I mean, yeah, those old liberals. She just wants to make Health and Human Services so big that it takes care of every single thing in everybody's life, and then you don't get paid no more. You just you go to work and give your money to the government, and they send you food at your door. That's the system she wants.
Look, she's a pandering idiot. She doesn't mean anything. She's not a feminist. She's not a. I mean, she'll just say whatever the fuck will suit her to get in. She's power hungry as hell, but she's also crazy. I think. Look at her eyes. Look at her when she does things. When she talks, the woman isn't right in the head. She's not stable. I don't feel that she's a good. And anyway, look, Nixon got what? He got impeached for removing 30 minutes or 18 minutes of a tape, and she removed a couple 100,000 emails, and she's running for president. Good going. What the fuck is wrong with this country? We got a problem on that side of the aisle. And I think we've had enough of this goddamn feel-good left, you know, SJW type shit here. We've gone off the deep end. It's time. It's time to have a fucking crazy bastard up there.
Okay, when you mean crazy, what kind of crazy things would you like to happen?
I don't want any of it to happen, but I want him to shut down this goddamn political correct bullshit.
Yeah, I want I want him to take a serious look at men's rights, and I do think he tends to lean towards men's rights. And
you think Trump will put some kahunas back in male authority?
Yeah, I think he's the guy that eventually is going to blurt out the words "baby mama."
Well, I don't think that he's going to sign another equal pay bill like Obama did, even though we already had one since 1960. What, 4 or no, 74, whatever. Yeah, and here he puts another law in the books, signs it through, and we already have one. What the fuck good was that? I don't think Trump is going to do that kind of shit.
Yeah,
get the fuck out of my office with this crap.
I think Trump confronted with the next VAWA bill, violence against women, and the whole rape culture thing, he's going to say, no, we're not re-signing that stupid bill. It's cost us so much. Yeah, them are the little decisions. He won't sign them, and he'll make an issue out of it. And then from that general, it may open up. He may be that one guy that one strong guy that opens up the tidal wave of the floodgates here of male rights. So it's a chance. It's a chance.
Well, you know what? If the FBI investigation with Hillary goes anywhere, I don't think there's enough time to do anything to prosecute her before the election. And after the election, if she gets in, they won't be able to do much of anything.
Right.
Not that shortly thereafter. If they do, by some chance, decide that there should be criminal charges brought and everything else, before Obama goes out, he'll pardon her.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen. So either way, they're going to be playing some really good bluff poker here on her behalf. Either way it goes, whether to prosecute, to investigate, to bring charges, or to go ahead and do it, pardon her while he's still in office on the lame duck presidency. He can go ahead and pardon her, and boom, she's in the clear, not facing charges anymore or prison time, but she won't make the presidency at that point. I mean, this is a gambling game on their part, and I don't know. I mean, this is a close call, and this is the craziest fucking presidency race I've ever seen. I mean, wow.
Yeah, so it's just we picked the guy that has a little bit of Mgtow in him, and that's all you're gonna get now. Is a little bit of Mgtow. So that's what we have to settle with. If there was a guy with a lot of Mgtow in him, we'd vote for him. But we don't.
But he'd never get elected. He'd never get elected. I mean, look at the uphill battle Trump's got because he speaks his mind. He's the shit that's just not politically correct.
Yeah, it's but we're fighting the other side of culture too. He has he is going to have the same difficulties we have. He's fighting that blue pill mentality that matrix that we talk about. And I think on a minor level he sees the matrix. And
yeah, but I mean, the guy does make sense, and everybody's coming unglued and losing their shit, with the immigration policy. And I don't mind immigrants as long as they come into the country legally,
right? Go
through the system like I did, like everybody else did that came to this country.
Yeah,
they go through the system and then assimilate.
Yeah, my family did it. Your family did it. We all did it. We all went through that process. And,
right. I have nothing against that, but that's just coming over here, walking into the fucking country and saying, I'm here, and then taking advantage of everything, and these cocksuckers giving them everything. They're giving them Medicaid and that shit. Are you fucking joking me? You're in this country illegally. I mean, My head's going to explode. How does
Yeah,
this even work?
we pay for that. We eventually have to pay for that. Who someone, that's like pickpocketing your wallet when you say you're going to have to pay for that, Joe, so we can have this immigration. No, do it the regular way, the way we've always done it. It's always worked out well that way, where you go through a system, you assimilate, and you become a good citizen. And I was just looking at the murder rates of immigration that's illegal immigrants, and it's huge. I think somewhere between 85,000 Americans in the last 40 years or something. I can't remember the time limit they gave, have been murdered by illegal immigrants. Uh, so there's a lot of problems. Just do it the right way. That's all that anybody's saying.
Yeah, yeah, and they don't like that, because, well, most of them are here illegally, and so they probably don't have the right to vote. So instead of voting and letting the vote talk, they go and protest and start riots at rallies. This is just, like I said, this is the nuttiest damn race I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all shaking in their boots because if this guy does half of what he said, the system's really going to get a boot up its ass. I mean, there's a lot of fucking waste that is going to go out the door. Because if he runs this country like a business, like Ross Perot back when was trying to do, a lot of people are going to lose their little lighter than air jobs. They're just going to be, hey, fuck off. We don't need you. You don't do anything. You take this paper and take it from this guy, and then you hand it to that guy. What do we need you for? They can hand it to each other. Piss off.
Yeah. Eric wants me to play Name That Beer, but I don't have a beer now. I forgot to go up and get beer. It is Friday. It's Thursday. Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
I can't do it right now, Eric. I don't have a beer. Do you have a beer?
I do. But with me, it's always the same one.
Yeah, I know.
So there's no mystery there.
There's no mystery in Name That Beer.
No.
Yeah. How do you change the sander in it? Hold up, there's two holes in it. Hold on 1 second, I have a question here.
Huh? What?
Oh, sorry about that. My son's working in the garage, and he has a problem with a tool.
Okay. I thought you had one in the chat room down low. I'm looking. I'm like, who has something? What?
Oh no,
Tell me about beer.
It was a work thing. We're still working here actually, and he's grinding, and he has a problem with a grinder. So I had to answer the question.
That's okay. He's learning.
Yeah, he's learning. That's good. He's going to bring it in here so I can do it in here because I can't explain to him how to do it.
So, pay attention.
Yeah.
Grab the front of his shirt, pull his eyes real close, and say, "Pay attention." Here.
Yeah.
This is how you do it.
He's going to freak when he sees out how easy it is. How I'm going to do it.
He'll learn though. That's a good thing. Yep. There goes the door. Here he is. All right, gentlemen. I gotta bolt. I got things to do, clean up around here. I really wasn't anticipating on coming in, but oh god, it's just one of those lazy days,
Oops. Could you just come out real quick and
Okay.
do this?
Okay, yeah. I'm thinking I have to wrap it up here. I have to go out in the garage and do a little work, and we had a good chat. It was a good chat today, huh?
Yeah, a little fun. Talked about all kinds of things that trigger people.
Yeah,
Politics.
that's our job, to trigger people. We're shining at. I don't want to close him up while he's out.
He's got his mic muted right now.
Okay, yeah, he's
So,
out there making a cup of tea or something. So with that, we're probably going to close up here in a few minutes. I've been called to work, and
sounds good. Well, it's been fun.
yeah, and Warhorse is taking off, and with that, I think we'll just close this podcast up if I can get the Shining in here to give his last final summation. And we'll do that. Yeah, sometimes working with tools is hard. Oh, yeah, there he goes. He says, "Peace, guys. GDT. Okay, okay. With that, I'm going to shut down the podcast, and you guys have a good day. And remember, you're from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, uh, you're a Mgtow, and we display ourselves. And that happiness starts with doing what you want. And from that second you wake up to the second you go to sleep, and then influencing the society in a way that makes sense, in a way that you develop your wealth, and it punishes societies for this unjust laws that they have. You're a Mgtow every second of the day, and that takes a lot of work. There's some things that we have to do, but it pays off in the end. It pays off monetarily. It pays off healthy. You're going to live longer. You're going to be happier. You're going to be healthier, and you're going to be wiser. And with that, I'm going to shut this broadcast down. Love each and every one of you.